They are an accident waiting to happen.
Stephen A, hush your mouth, talking all that noise. You can hate all you want, but we still them boys. Dirty, dirty D, Texas where we stay at. Me decide in order till you know that's where we play at. Hey, this year, this the payback. Yeah, we them Cowboys, and nah, we don't play that. Work, this is Cowboy Nation. Work, welcome to Cowboy Nation. Work, y'all can keep on hate. Work.
Cowboys Nation, Cowboys Nation, Cowboys Nation. Welcome to another episode of Defending the Boys. I am your boy, D. Will, and today we're going to talk a little bit about not getting too much chip on your dip, okay? Don't get too much chip on your dip, Cowboys fans, because the Detroit Lions have a lot to play for. They're not a bad team. You're talking about a team that ranks in the top 10 in offense. As a matter of fact, as far as offensive scoring, I believe they're number 2, right behind the Cowboys, if I remember correctly. And then on defense, they are a top 15 defense in the league. That makes them a very, very, very good team, even though their record doesn't show it. Just like the Cowboys are a very, very, very good team, even though our record does not show it. This team has a lot of speed, Jahmyr Gibbs, oh my God. I mean, it's a lot of speed on this team. And so there's some things that we really got to work on. And we're going to talk about kind of their offense versus our defense and what we're going to need to do in order to ensure that we pull off this victory. This episode is brought to you by Quantum Neuro Edge. That is our AI, artificial intelligence company that puts all the stuff together for us. So anytime that we need to look at things, we do a series every week where it tells us what the predictions are for the game. Right now, Quantum Neuro Edge is 2-1 in the last 3 weeks because we just started this program with them 3 weeks ago. So they are 2-1 as far as picking the games are concerned. So we're pretty confident in the things that they have. So we ran some tests with Quantum Neuro Edge this week, and what we decided that we wanted to do was to try to figure out and we got percentages, right? You can go to NFL.com and they'll tell you the Cowboys percentages for what needs to happen. But we really wanted to have an idea of, okay, let's assume that we get to, and I've been saying this for weeks, right? The Cowboys are going to have to get to 10 games. I don't believe that 9 games gets them into the playoffs. Now, with that being said, Quantum Neuro Edge does have, or did come up with a few possibilities where 9 wins actually got the Cowboys into the playoffs, but it did require some teams just to go bottoms up, right? And so what I wanted to know is, assuming teams didn't go bottoms up, let's just assume that things just, played itself out naturally, right? The teams that was supposed to win kind of won, and and the Cowboys did what they wanted to do, or what they needed to do, and only lost one more game. Now, I'm going to say this right off the bat. The Detroit Lions game is not the game that you want to lose. What you want to do is beat Detroit Lions. That's what you want to do. You want to beat the Detroit Lions because that puts you squarely above them in the playoff race. Now you control your own destiny, at least to when it comes to the Lions, right? If you win a game, they got to win one. If you lose one, then now you're hoping that they lose one. But in the scheme of things, right, in the total scheme of things, if you beat the Detroit Lions, then you control your destiny when it comes to just that one team, right? So that still leaves you with quite a bit of teams to look at. Now, I know last week we talked about, okay, well, if the Eagles actually beat Chicago, Chicago has some tough sledding ahead, and there was a possibility that they could have the bottom come out from underneath them. That's not you guys. That's me. Sorry about that. And that didn't happen, right? The Lions actually beat the Eagles. And so now it's the Eagles. So we start to ask ourselves a question of what it takes for us to actually win the NFC East. And so this is kind of the things that we were looking at, right? As far as the NFC East is concerned, here is Philadelphia's last 5 games. So if we win every game, then you would need for the Philadelphia Eagles to lose at least 2 games. And I believe that if you look at this, the Chargers is a losable game for them. The Bills is a losable game for them. But other than that, you're really talking about them being able to easily go 3-2. So let's just assume that they do go 3-2. We would still have to lose. We would still have to win every game in order to win the NFC East championship. And I think that is a lot to ask for, but it's not impossible. You do need some help from Philadelphia in order for that to occur. Okay, so you would need them to drop a game to the Raiders, which, oh my God, can you imagine the type of noise talking? Like, they wouldn't even want to see me online. I might get banned off of YouTube if they lose to the Raiders, because there would be a lot of noise talking going on. I mean, because I got some people who stay in my DMs and stay in my comments talking about they Philadelphia Eagles. I can definitely see TikTok having a problem with me. So let's look at the other teams that we really need to pay attention to, right? Let's look at the Seahawks. Looks like the graphic got cut off just a little bit, but it's okay. You can see the Seahawks in week 14, or the games that they have left to play, is the Falcons, the Colts, the Rams, the Panthers, and the 49ers. I could see the Seahawks actually losing 3 games. I don't see, I mean, in my opinion, that's not stretching it, right? Again, we're talking about not overstretching it. That's not really how I wanted to say it, but basically, we're not going to assume that the Eagles are going to lose to the Raiders, right? That's not the kind of thing that we're going to do. We're going to look at everything and say, okay, these are actual possibilities, right? These are some actual possibilities. So we're going to say that the Seahawks, who currently are 8-3, could lose 3 games, right? They could lose 3 games. That would make them 11-6. And the Cowboys, in order to catch them in that situation, would need to be 11-5-1. Now, with that being said, it would be easy for the Seahawks to burn and crash. I could see them losing to the 49ers, the Panthers, the Rams, and the Colts, which would be 4 games. And technically, technically the Falcons could beat them, but I'm not banking on that. They're 4-7 right now, but I can see them losing to the Colts, the Rams, the Panthers, and the 49ers, and having 4 more losses, which would make them 10-7 at the end of the season. And if they're 10-7 and we're 10-6-1, then in that situation, we're above the Seahawks as far as being able to work our way into. So that would be us losing 1 game. Hopefully that game isn't the Lions. And we'll get to that, if we do lose to the Lions, kind of what goes on after that. But hopefully that game wouldn't be to the Lions. So that's a possibility, right? The Seahawks could actually lose 3 games. And that would actually, if we go and just lose 1 more and win the rest of our games, I think that we would be in a position at that point to do what we got to do. That's my opinion, right? So that would be 11-5. So if we would be 10-6-1, and they would be 10-7. Yeah, no, that's right. But that would be if they lost 4 games. I'm sorry, I misspoke. If they lost the 4 games, because they are 8-3, that's when they would be 10-7. Yes. Okay. I had to make sure I said that right. So that's if they lost 4 games. But if they only lost the 3 games, then they would be 11-6. We would have to win all of our games to be 11-5-1. We would definitely beat the Seahawks in that situation as far as getting into the playoffs. Now, there's still other possibilities and other things out there that would determine, who it is, because it definitely very well could be somebody else that's actually sneaking in, right? And if you're asking about the Buccaneers are 6-5, but they are first in their division. There's only one team going in the NFC South. If we continue to do what we're going to do, that team is going to be the champion, which is either the Buccaneers or the Panthers. I don't think both of them actually make it in. So if the Buccaneers don't make it, it would be because the Panthers made it. And, again, right now we're above the Panthers, but we did lose to them. So, we're not really looking at them. Packers, the Green Bay Packers are ahead of us. They're 6th in the standings right now. They do have to play the Bears twice, so that could be a problem for them. They also have to play the Broncos, which could be a problem for them. They play the Raiders and they play the Vikings. Again, you're talking about a team in the Packers who could very easily lose 3 games, right? Possibly even 4. Them losing 4 games really puts you into a good predicament if you were going. Again, we're looking at going 10-6-1 for the season. If they lose 4 games, that means that they would have 7 losses. That would mean they would be 9-7-1. But if they lose 3 games, then you were talking about them being 10-6-1, just like us. And I'm not sure, because I haven't done the information yet, who wins the tiebreaker, because we did tie with them. So who wins the tiebreaker between the Cowboys and the Packers? I haven't gone to Neuro Edge to look at that information quite yet. Let's move on to the 49ers. They do have a bye. They're 8-4 right now. When they come back, they play the Titans. That should be a fairly easy win. But then they have the Colts. They have the Bears, and they have the Seahawks. So that Seahawks game at the end of the year is going to be probably have a lot of playoff connotations to it. They've already lost 4. I could definitely see them losing to the Colts and the Bears. That would put them at 6 losses. If somehow they lose to the Seahawks as well, that would put them at 7 losses. And at 7 losses, with the Cowboys only losing 1, that would put us 10-6-1. They would have 11 losses. 7 losses. So that would put them at 10-7. And at 10-6-1, we would have a better record than the San Francisco 49ers. So again, just trying to show you where 1 loss and we still are able to make it into the playoffs. Now the Lions, same thing. We really need to beat them. But we need for them to lose. Additionally, we need for them to end up losing more than, or at least 2 games, right? Because they're 7-5 right now. If they lose 2 games, then they will be 10-7. Will be 10-6-1. So if the Cowboys is one of those games, then we need any team to beat them to keep them behind us, which could easily be the Rams. It could easily be the Bears. If the Cowboys win this game, it will be very, 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 very difficult for the Lions to make it to the playoffs. And that's the reason that I feel like it's a tall task to ask of the Cowboys, but we got to win this game. We need to effectively make it almost impossible for Detroit to get them behind us. And if we're going to lose a game, it just doesn't need to be this one. But this is a good team. Again, this is a good team. This is a team that has speed. They have a good quarterback in Jared Goff. This isn't a pushover team. I do believe that our defensive line can take over this game. That's what I believe. And I watched the Green Bay game. I watched a few games. I think I watched 3 or 4 of their last 3 games and half of the game 4 weeks ago. But I believe that our defensive line can take over. So when we talk about our defense, the things that we really need to be able to do for our defense is we need to figure out how to stop the run, right? I didn't say figure out like we haven't been doing it. we've definitely been doing a good job of stopping the run here lately, right? And in stopping the run, that makes teams one-dimensional. And if we can make the Detroit Lions one-dimensional by making them have to pass, and I think we're in a very good situation. But as long as they can sit back and kind of dictate the game and allow Gibbs and Montgomery and some of those guys to kind of take over and do what it is that they do, then we're going to be in for a long, grueling game that, that's really going to test us. Let us know where we actually are. So, yeah, the Detroit Lions are a very good game. I think controlling the run, it's a good thing. Again, Overshawn is there. That speed is going to mean a lot. We get to see a little bit of the speed now, probably going after the quarterback, because I don't think we have to spy as much as we did the last 2 weeks. Obviously, with Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts, you wanted to spy. You knew they can run. Goff has the ability to run. He's just not a runner. So you want to get him to bring his eyes down by bringing that pressure right up the middle, and then, having some blitzes at that point with Overshawn, getting him going towards the quarterback, I think could be, really amazing as far as our opportunity to shut them down. So I think that you may see a few additional blitzes that you didn't see in the last couple of games. Or we are supposed to be sometime tomorrow getting Trayvon Diggs starting his 21-day process. They say they're going to announce that on Sunday, and the expectation is for him to play. This is a good team for him to play with. I'm not saying that they have a good runner, good wide receivers. They're not necessarily the elite wide receivers, but they are good wide receivers. So again, just like last week, we have a test in the secondary. I think we stood up to some very fast wide receivers, which was, speed was one of the concerns, right? We stood up to that and that opportunity. I don't think Jared Goff makes all of the passes that Patrick Mahomes made. And I think that becomes the difference, right? We're in another game where, once again, our defense they don't have to necessarily shut them down. This doesn't have to be a 14-10 game, right? But I do believe that if you shut the run down, that you can keep them to 17 points. This is a team that if we can shut down the run, we can actually keep to 17 to 20 points. And I know I just said we don't have a shutdown defense, or we don't have to have a shutdown defense, and that this team is the second best team as far as scoring is concerned, right? I know I just said it, but we do have an opportunity. Again, when you talk about just being able to match up against this team, if you can figure out how to really put clamps on the run the way you did against Kansas City, and the way that you did against the way that you did against the Raiders, and the way that you did against the Philadelphia Eagles. And then you actually did a fairly decent job of keeping the run. If you take away Patrick Mahomes' 30 yards, then you're talking about a team that had less than 100 yards last week. And the week before that, obviously, they leaned on the run, and the Cowboys were able to stop it. So it's not an incredible ask to say that the Dallas Cowboys can keep them under 100 yards, make them one-dimensional. And then with the assistance of Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland and Revel all being in the game at the same time, Kalen Carson is still hurt right now. So it keeps us from having to make a decision between, who needs to go in the game. Kind of gives us the opportunity to get him back healthy again. But with a healthy secondary, Malik Hooker with Donovan Wilson, all those guys back there, I think we have an opportunity to literally hold this top team. That's going to say a lot about the defense too, right? That's going to mean a lot. But to be able to hold them to 17 points, I don't think that's a necessity, rather, because I do think that the Cowboys can score over 30 points against the Detroit Lions. We were able to put 30 points on a very good team in Kansas, a very good defensive team in Kansas City. I thought we were going to be able to put 40 up on them. And as I mentioned before, we very well may have been able to do at least 38 if we would have had to. But luckily, our defense kept us from necessarily having to. I think in this week that we should be able to keep this team down to about 17 points. There's a possibility that they get to 20, depending on, kind of how the game flow goes and different things like that. So that's kind of where I feel. I think a concentration on stopping the explosive runs. If we can put clamps on the running game, I believe that our defense can actually do what they need to do in order to hold this team to under 20 points. Hold them under 20 points. I believe you come away with a win from our offense and maybe even an easy win. I don't know if they'll get to 40 points, but they definitely have the capabilities of putting 40 points. And we'll talk about what the offense can do and what they, need to be able to do. But I feel like it's easily a 30-point or higher game for the offense. So holding them to 17 points really gives us the best opportunity to win this game. All right, that's all I have for you. A little bit of playoff talk, a little bit of Detroit Lions talk. We're going to get back with you guys tomorrow when we start to talk about what our offense needs to do against the defense, what we can